Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Pedophile Huntress. We're here with a common goal that you be encouraged in heart and united in love. Welcome. Tonight, I have with me Lisa. She is from Australia, and I'm going to let her tell you where she's from in a minute here, but it is her tomorrow. So she's in Friday, and we are still in Thursday, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to have her here. I have a real love for her and her story. We've been social media friends for about 5 years, and we fight the same battle out here to bring voice and victory around these issues of childhood sexual crimes. So tonight, our goal again is just to bring power to those that were abused and feel still like they're a victim. We hope that you're strengthened through our words tonight, and we just want to bring an alertness to the world at large, which is so cool that Lisa's here with us. I listened to her story. The first time that she went on and was interviewed was on I Am Evidence podcast. I think that's such a grand title because it's so true that in these crimes, there is no evidence. But the truth is, we are the evidence. So I'm going to put a link to that podcast in the description of this. And so any of you listeners, go out and listen to that. It's Australia based, but it's fantastic. And Lisa told her story there. So thank you, Lisa, for being with us here tonight. I'm so excited. I want you, and for all the advocacy work that you do and all the time that you take to do your videos, I'll put your social link in here as well. So, any of you people who have lived through us out there, through the things that we've lived through, we honor you tonight. We see you tonight. And also give Lisa a follow because she's just beautiful. It's just beautiful how she just shares her heart and soul. And she is a victor. She is not here as a victim tonight. So, Lisa, I know that you have some legalities around your story. There's some legal stuff going on. I really want to honor that. So, I want you to just bring the listener in just so they have that understanding like you and I know. We want them to know that we get it. We are not here like we read the story and we're here to talk about it. We are the evidence. We have listened to it. So just bring them in enough. Introduce yourself, say where you're from in Australia, and then just bring us into your story a little bit.
First off, can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Am I
Yeah.
loud enough?
Loud and clear.
I was, for all you Aussies who are watching, I was born in Victoria, Melbourne, Victoria. I'm currently living in Queensland, which is a couple of states up.
Mm,
So where I live now, it's very hot, but today is nice and cool.
nice.
Um, I'm 50 years old and I have 5 children, been married for almost 30 years.
Oh, it's
Um,
beautiful. It's
I
beautiful.
am a hairdresser by profession, but I haven't worked for a long time due to this stuff that we're about to talk about.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. What else did you ask me? Sorry.
Hi, you're fine. All right, so that's awesome. Welcome and welcome all you Aussies that are listening in and for everybody else who is around the world listening to us tonight. Just bring us in. I know I listened to I Am the Evidence, and I know that you talked about your abuse started about the tender age of 4 and went into teen years. Mine was the same. I know that I was 3 because I moved out of that house. So these are tender things with you. We don't have to go into any kind of graphic detail, but just share what you'd like to about um, just that rough start for you.
Yep. So it's very complex, but I'll try and do it as uncomplicated as I can. I was, my memories only started surfacing around, which we could get into that as well,
Mhm.
is that the amnesia part. So I'd always had one memory, and then when I was around 24 was when I started to recall stuff. So I it started from the age of 4 to, yeah, I can't tell you exactly it was maybe about 14 when it finished. But the most intense part was I never like to minimize because done so much psychology and therapy and stuff like that. So we've been taught, you know, people say don't,
Right.
don't this or don't minimize, but like there are different types of trauma, obviously, that we experience. So the most intense and horrific part was probably from the age of 4 to 12, and then we like my I'll only say it once. I lived with my stepdad and my mother, and we moved at that from that state very quickly to where I am currently now. Um, I refer to him as the saddest because he does not deserve the name or the title of a stepdad. So if you
Yeah,
hear me say that,
hallelujah. I'd say he earned it, so you're fine. You're fine.
that's who I'm referring to. So yeah, so my mum met him when I would have been around 4 years old, and she was already with somebody else, my biological father, and they worked together. They swapped partners. This is the quick version. It was very weird, and
Mhm.
um, I didn't grow up. I just started to I didn't like him straight off. This is a very interesting thing. Children are so aware, and I think
Mhm.
like to do like preventing would be amazing, but just listening to your children, or just
Mhm.
even if like a child, like looking for the signs, like it's I went mute. There was so many signs, like even through like school and stuff. I would fall asleep in class. The abuse was horrific. It was ritual abuse. I won't go into all the details, um, but it was very organized. And unfortunately, because of legal reasons at the moment, I can't go into all of that. But I'm very
And that's
grateful that
fine.
I have people who are advocating for me, and those people are doing hard work because my
Yeah.
story is very. So, yeah, basically, I still have lots of bits that I don't remember. I think I've remembered enough though. I
Yeah,
don't actually want to.
Lisa, I think it's interesting. One of the things you said is we could talk about this, and it makes me think about people don't understand how long it takes for us to get our story back. This is not like one day. Well, and I love that you said I have a memory. There's always enough in your mind to know that we need to like pick that memory. Like we know there's more. But the truth is, it takes years to put this back together. I in my book I talk about when the murder happened, and it takes all of these years for me to put that murder back together. But in the process of that were all these rapes, all of this abuse, all of this stuff going on. My parents also had parties. They, had another gentleman, why do I even call him that? Another pedophile in the room with us that would abuse us as well. So, but it takes years to get this back. So talk a little bit about that. I think one of the things that I like to do is help people understand how you heal. And healing is not a one-time thing, right? It takes a long time. And we have to be honest about that. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I don't. I think like because sometimes I still get flashbacks and stuff, and so
Mhm.
how I would describe like we actually have talked about this before. Like there's the victim, survivor, and then there's. I don't really like to stick on the survivor word, but we need to find something else,
Right.
another word. So many when you're in essentially going through the healing process because you don't think you are when you're recalling. You think you're going, well, I thought I was going crazy. And I
Exactly.
find a lot of other survivors have also thought that they were. What, where did this memory come from? This doesn't make sense with this. And it's like what you said, it's like trying to put a puzzle piece together
Mhm.
and trying to find those pieces and like, how do I do that? And especially when, like, for myself, once I did recall like very specific memories of rape and stuff, and I had to cut my family off. So it's all on you, like then to kind of go, okay, I have to trust me and
Yes.
trust this process. So for me personally, when we talk about healing, like whenever I recall a memory, um, my husband and I just have had to work out our own thing. If I
Mm-hmm.
become childlike or whatever, which is very common and that's very normal, I sit with a pen and I'll just write.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, that's usually when I start to try and process what I've written. It could be just a drawing. It could be an actually crazy, and it's not crazy actually. I will get street names, stuff like that. It's amazing what our brain and body does and can hold. Like it always.
It's amazing is a great word. It really truly is. It protects us until the time it knows we're safe, and then it brings it
Yeah.
back. And I just think that's a beautiful gift from God, how that happens. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, most definitely. Disassociation is
Mhm.
such a
It
and
is. It is.
like I'm the most stubborn, annoying person sometimes, but I will say, because I thought this is annoying. I don't want to be like this. But now I look back because I'm like, it's actually 25 years this year that
Mhm.
this process has been ongoing. Um,
Mhm.
I look back and I think how blessed that I got to disassociate because a lot of, and I
Right?
laugh, please forgive me, I'm not laughing. That's just my way of
You're
coping.
fine. I get
Um,
it.
I am, if I did not disassociate, like many of us who have been through this, and I've talked to so many survivors, which is so, it's validating, but at the same time, it's heartbreaking. They have disassociated and then they think they're crazy and they think all these things, or
Mhm.
they'll get all these diagnoses, and that's fine. But you're not crazy, number one. The fact that you can
Mhm.
disassociate means you're highly intelligent. And it was so nice to hear that from one of my psych therapists. That was the first person that helped me understand what was going on with me because I was hospitalized when I started to recall memories. And
Mm.
hi, Lisa, you're not crazy. And I'm like, I am. And he's like, no, you know what? He's
Wow.
like, he explained to me in a very logical way that how our brain worked. And this was 25 years ago. So he
Mhm.
was way. I still love him. He likes all my posts or my
Mm.
little put up
I
some,
love it.
and he's 80 something. I hope I'm going to put this up and he'll, Leon. Um, he um he was just a beautiful man who just sat and listened to me and he didn't make me feel that there was something wrong with me because that was how it started for
Mhm.
me. I sang one simple prayer. Um, Usually it's help or it's like I just start. That's how it started. I'm just remembering it now. I was like, "What's wrong with me? Can you please let me know?" Unbeknownst to me, that was going to end up like a flood because I
Right.
thought, oh, it'll just take 1 year and I'll be fine. I just need to know who this person did what they did to me because I always had that blank face, which is quite common too,
Hmm.
I think,
Yes.
of someone to my
Yep.
room. Um, but it was very visceral. So with that memory, I would get physical pain down my legs. Um, it's yeah, and back we're talking 25 years ago. We didn't have
Right.
this kind of stuff, did we? We didn't
Exactly.
have books to really. I think I had like maybe two books, sorry, that I could read, and
Right.
but there was
Right.
nothing.
Because
There was no.
right, what you're describing is what now the body keeps the score, describes for us, right? But I want to talk
Yes.
about that for a minute, Lisa, because so 25 years ago, you begin to talk about this, but then you end up needing care because you feel like you're losing your mind. I think that this
Mm-hmm.
is an incredibly common theme. When we begin to open up the fractured part of our brain that we've held back, and it's fractured because it's not whole. It's all of these rattlings and this fracture is in here. And when we step into that fracture, it feels like we're fucking crazy, right? Because we're
I love
stepping into fractures. That's the way I can kind of articulate it. Does that make sense?
it totally. Actually, I love that analogy because if I've never broken a bone, but when you fracture something, it is. It's like it's not neat and tidy. Like
Exactly.
it's not a clean break. So that's how you feel in your head. And then not only in your head, in your heart, in your like your
Hmm.
spirit, the rest of your whole body. I got goosebumps now. Um,
Right?
you just can feel completely fractured and completely like it, it saddens me to think back when I was hospitalized because I did know that there was, I wasn't schizophrenic or anything. And this is not
Mhm.
to say against people who have that diagnosis, but I was very blessed that a nurse came into me to my room one day when I was having when you recall a memory for those of you who may not know or have experienced it, it looks like for me, it sometimes looks like I'm having a seizure,
Mm.
or you turn into that childlike.
Yes.
They usually come in and they give you all the medication. It is like in the movies, and she's like,
Right?
"Nope, I want to sit. I'm just going to sit with her." Now, I was when you're in that. It's like you're sitting here in the back of your head, and you can see everything going on, but you can't ask for help because you are that child again reliving it. And that lady sat there and she didn't know, but I could hear her and she was praying very, very quietly.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
I'm in a public hospital
Right.
and I and it my whole body, I just remember just like going, it just went kind of limp in a nice way
How
because
beautiful.
like exhausted and
Right.
it's marathon. That's how I liken it to. I just
It's
every
beautiful. And
and
right, and I'm sorry, and I want you to finish. I apologize for interrupting. The beautiful part is you were being healed. So when you step into that fracture, it feels crazy and out of control, and we don't have parents there to support us. Everybody's telling us we're nuts and we're lying, and yet our mind is showing us the truth. And so really the all you needed, how beautiful. I wish, honestly, Lisa, that all people, when they stepped into their memories, could go into a hospital for a couple weeks. I wish everybody could, because it is hard to stay out here, go to work, take care of your kids, do all these things while your mind is trying to bring all the fractures back into some kind of order.
correct. And like the only reason I did end up in hospital is because the memories would not stop. So
Mhm.
my beautiful husband and a very close friend who was like a mother, they made it because we already knew that I'd suffered a psychological abuse, but at that time we just didn't know what to do. So I wish that we could be a place, and people have done it where when it does start to unravel, that people can just take time off from work because I was working, raising a son, saving for a house, all the things
Right.
that you do as a young
Life was
person.
happening.
Our life was full on crazy, and then boom. And I was so mad. I was mad at the
Mm.
people who hurt me, number one, because
Right.
of that. I had to stop my life because of what they had done to me. But I was so grateful that being in a place, it wasn't the most fabulous, but I had a nurse who actually didn't want to medicate me. She wanted to listen to me.
Which
So
is that's the script that a doctor should have wrote, actually.
that's the best script ever. And
Yes.
she said to me, I was like, crying and whatever. I was like, I'm so sorry, apologizing to her. And she's like, no, you don't need to apologize. And I'm like, I'm crazy. I'd always say I'm crazy. And she goes, no, you are not crazy. She said, this is not crazy. Even high up doctors didn't know what to do with me.
But
So
now,
yeah,
you
to
know,
have
it, oh, go ahead, finish.
no, no, it was just nice to have
Well,
someone
yes,
say
and
that
well,
you're not.
when you think about this now, Lise, think about I've had all of these years from four, the secret started, maybe
Yeah,
14, 15, whatever. That's a whole lot of years, 10 years of silence, suffering, abuse at the hands of people that are supposed to protect you. And now that window is opened into all those fractures, and your soul has all of this pain that was never allowed to be released. And so the anguish that a soul, the mind, I don't even think knows how to comprehend that kind of anguish, right? Because our mind is here for many reasons, but only a heart gets broken, right? And so our mind, I don't think our mind comes around it. It's a very weird thing in your body to have that kind of anguish released from this genie bottle. And then your mind's like, what the hell is going on? Right? But it's grief and anguish and pain.
the grief. That's the grief. I for years, like I would be like, oh, just can I pray it away? Can I do this? Can I do
Yes.
that? Just give me anything. I'll do it.
Yes.
Give me the script. We are not. We are not. I would say like some people like would be like, oh, just move along, move on. Oh, trust me, I want to move along. I do not want
Right.
this. We're doing
Right.
everything in our power. Like you just said, we haven't most of us haven't remembered it, number one. And then all of a sudden you've got no family members who they're enforcing that you are crazy, telling you that no, this is not
Mhm.
true. Right, hang on a minute.
Exactly.
It's hard. You're back and forth. So now I got off track.
No, you didn't get off track. What you were saying everything absolutely right. One of the things I wanted to kind of go back to for a second is I don't think you were minimizing when you said the worst of it was from, what'd you say, 4 to 12 or 11? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
one of the things I want to talk about that for a minute, because I think when your body gets so saturated, I'm a CASA worker and I talk to these children that are in pain. CASA is a court appointed special advocate here, and we help represent the voice of a child. One of the things that I said to them the other day, I went for Easter to a children's hospital, and I said, when you have so much pain that comes into your body, you can't do anymore, and these are 14-year-old girls, what do you do? And one of them immediately said, you get angry. And she's right.
Yeah.
And so I think by the time we turn 12, 13, 14, I can remember running away from home. And do you know, Lisa, I didn't know why I ran away from home. I grew up and I was like, man, why did I run away from home? It wasn't until a few years ago that I got that memory. And it was when my father sodomized me because I wouldn't get pregnant then. And at the same time, my mother was in the room and I had to do things with her as well. And it was the last final straw for me. But you know what was weird? I almost lived in amnesia. I didn't live where I remembered it anymore. I was just gone in those years. Gone, just totally fucking gone because I couldn't take anymore. My whole being, there was no place else to plug it into. So my mind just poof, it was gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally gone until I went back through. It's weird. Triggers come back, as you well know. Something will trigger that. And all of a sudden, I was thrown back to that. And I'm not even going to go into the trigger because it was just, it was awful to actually have a memory come back of sodomy at 14 or 15, whatever. But I'll tell you, Lisa, I didn't have capacity to remember it anymore. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, because I have still have memory. I had a very oh, big memory, maybe a year ago. And
Mhm.
it's like what you just said, like I don't feel like I have the capacity to hold this anymore. I just want to
Mhm.
scream,
Mhm.
tell the whole world. So I'm like, this is not fair for us to have to keep having
Mhm.
this. Like, yeah, it's good for it to come out, da da da, all the language, all the lovely language that we put around healing,
I
but it
know.
doesn't feel beautiful at the time, that's for sure.
No, it
Um,
doesn't.
you just said resonated with me though. I ran away when I was, oh, I think I was 11.
Mm.
And like, it was at nighttime and I just left the house and I ran. And then I was like,
Right.
I did run a PS, and I just ran. I don't think I've ever run so fast in my life. Because I just snapped. My
Right. And you
like
had
what you
nowhere
just
to
said.
go, right? It's so weird. I snapped.
No, I did go to a house, but it
Oh,
was another.
good.
It's a part of the abusive system. Well, is essentially a pedophile ring. So I the next day I got they found me hiding
Of
under a bed
course.
and took me back to my abuser. Like
Right.
seriously, that and it was a an uncle who had never abused me, by the way. But the fact that they used him, a safe person, to
Right.
come and which was actually he had to come from a very far away to come and get me, and they knew I would come with him because he was
Right.
always um and
Which actually it
where
makes it's a form of betrayal to a good relationship.
I felt I was so mad at him,
Hmm.
and I begged him, and I didn't even know what I was begging for. Like you said, like I knew the crux of it was that my mother was never physically abusive with me. She was mentally abusive. She, I had triggered her this particular night for I don't know what it was, and she ran after me and she started slapping me around the head and like it was very violent. Um, and that was the crux of it, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. It could have been any other time, like you've as well.
Hmm.
You like, sorry, we could have ran away many other times, but
Right.
that my because she was my mother, even though she knew what was,
Exactly.
it was like now I really don't have a safe space. I literally don't.
Exactly. I knew you were going to
So
say that because
yeah,
when I remember being very small before we moved out of the little house, and so I would have still been 3, but when my mother entered into this pedophilia ring, I just remember thinking as a little girl, I'm doomed. I'm absolutely doomed. I had no one. And so I know probably the trigger for you was, man, my mom's treating me this way. So I'm an object of hate in her eyes. How is she supposed to take that? I'm done for. I need to get out of here. I have no place of safety.
yeah, it's just it's unnatural, isn't it, Jody? It's an
Yes,
unnatural for a
very
mother
unnatural.
to do that
Yes.
to a child. I mean, I'm not a perfect parent by any means, but um, the the pure anger I remember, like you, because both of us, obviously, especially when you're been through sexual trauma, right? Your senses are so heightened.
Hmm.
Everything is heightened,
Hmm.
and so I could feel like even before she came near me, I could feel her anger, and that scared me more
Right.
than
Right.
eating.
Right.
But it caused just straight away a disconnect.
Yes.
Like it probably reinforced like yourself, like it reinforces that disassociation. And then it's just like the chosen mutism, which is what I chose to do. And I did it because it was my only form of getting back at them. I know that sounds probably childish. Uh, like, no, you're not going to have my voice. You've got everything else, but you're not having my
Right,
voice.
right. Well, and you probably would have
I
been hurt if you used it anyway. So let's be real. You were probably a very smart child. So if you used it, they were going to hurt you anyway, which, by the way, when you became an adult and used it, they did hurt you by calling you a liar and all of those things. You know what I mean? So I think children still use the wisdom that we've got at our disposal. And that was probably wise. You know, people say this stupid stuff like, why didn't you tell anybody?
did. I did. Like I told people, not necessarily uh, the sexual trauma stuff, or the because I couldn't recall, like, because we were living, it was like living a double life. I guess as a child, you go to school, you do all the things, you have friends and stuff like that. I would never let my friends come over and stay, except one
Right.
friend. But I tell some of my friends, I'd be like, "Do you know that I'm pregnant?" And they'd be like, "No, you're not," or like other
Wow.
members, they'd be, I'd be like, they'd ask about the sadist. They're like, so what? Because they obviously knew that he wasn't a good person. And they're like, so
Right.
what is he? We don't really like him, Lisa. I'm like, now I look back and I think, well, why didn't they do something? Why didn't they
Right.
drag me? Why didn't they save me? Like,
Right. I know.
have a,
I know. I had people come to me in later and say, I knew you were an abused little girl in that house. You think anybody did anything? It's, you know,
it's
well, we'll get there in a minute.
happening.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. But, people, it's that whole thing, Lisa, why we do our advocacy work is to let people know it's okay to talk the way that we talked. This, if you're raped on the street or somebody crawls through your window, for some reason, that story's okay to tell. But when it's incest and it's in your home, those stories aren't okay to tell. Even the police don't like these stories. It is the worst crime on the planet. And yet people don't want to touch this crime. It's the worst crime. And I'm going to say it again. It is the most depraved crime that anybody can do on the planet is hurt their own child by sexually abusing them. And yet nobody does anything, Lisa. Nobody wants to listen to our stories. What the heck?
I've actually been told, I don't know what it's like. This is what I do want to ask you. In Australia, they don't want to touch historical child abuse cases because it's
Right?
too complex.
Right?
It's too complicated. I'm like, well, fucking live in our shoes.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Lisa, this makes me let's go to this for a minute because I know on the podcast she asked you this question about what you'd like survivors to have and you say a beautiful thing that I've actually never really heard anybody say, that same wisdom you had as a child, you have as an adult. And you said, I wish they all had solicitors. In America, we call them lawyers or attorneys, but you know what? I talk about that for a second because it's like what you're just saying. So, okay, but here, so before I turn it over to you, if you go and you rape somebody, you as a perpetrator get a solicitor. However, the person that is raped does not get a solicitor. We have to get our own money or whatever, or hopefully, in that case, hopefully, you'll get a prosecutor that's going to believe you and then press charges against them and then they will do something. But that's a very rare thing. So you might get one, but I'll guarantee you, if you are the perp, you get one. So talk about that for a minute.
So I will say this, and I don't care. Like, this is actually whatever. My perpetrator, the main one, the saddest, has never been questioned. And so this is why it's ongoing for me. And as soon as I recalled my abuse, which if you do listen to that podcast, you'll hear a lot of that stuff. Um, I reported him straight away. Like, I went to the police very naively, I will say, and thinking that, they'll do their job. So has started a whole thing. So I've very gratefully, like I have met you, I've met so many people, like I've met another survivor who happened to be a lawyer herself and went through the system herself. And her and I have connected years ago, and she said, "You know what, Lisa?" She was the one who brought it up to me. She said, it's just common sense." She said, "These, you know, rapists, they always get, you know,
Right. Right.
they get they get a lawyer, they get defense straight away. Us, we just walk, we have no idea. We just share our
Terrible.
story,
Right.
share our account of what has happened to us, the horrific abuse of our little bodies, and expect that the justice system is going to look after us. No, they don't do that. For pretty much, I think it's like 0.1% or 2% here that they
Right.
get time, which is
Right.
horrific.
It really is.
So
100% it is.
to be able to even, so I'll never give up fighting. So
Mm. Me
that's
neither, by the way, sister. Me neither.
going nowhere, and they know that. My abusers know that, so they're still alive. Which, yeah, whatever. So I'm not going to ever shut up, and especially the police. The police are probably sick of me. Whatever, I don't care. But
Mhm.
that's their job. That's
Yes.
their job. Their job
Yes, it
is, and
is.
they will. It'll come on TV, and they will say, "Come and tell us if you've been sexually assaulted." I'm like, "Fuck off! I'm not going to come and tell you no more after the way you treated me in my
Right.
case, because
Right.
my case just oh, it's a shit show. I'll put it that way. The way
Right.
they dealt with it was disgusting, and I'm not the only one. It's so many people, and that just adds an even more trauma to us. So now I'm getting on my little rant, but
No,
going
you're
back to what
fine.
you originally said is that if I don't care what age, anyone comes into your police station and decides to report their sexual abuse, incest, I've had incest as well. That's all in my statement. The police never said anything about that. They're like, oh, that's like whatever kind of, it's horrific. Um,
It's so
yeah,
wrong.
disgusting. So anybody that comes in should be automatically given a lawyer
I
because it's
agree.
legal matter,
It is a
but
legal
it's
matter,
involved.
because it's a crime, Lisa. This is not a family matter. This is not a family matter. This is a crime. It's a crime. It doesn't matter that you birthed me or whatever, that you have the right to do this to me. It's outrageous to me. And I loved that when you said that. I thought, what a beautiful, beautiful thing to say. I've never really thought. In fact, I had somebody on that she even said, "Oh, we've got to reach out to the perps again." You know what? I am really sick of, and I'm going to get on my pedestal for a second. The church, particularly, gives more comfort to the pedophiles and the perpetrators of these crimes than they give to the victims. And shame on you. This is not a God of heaven. That God sits in this great big place of justice, and He's looking and down and He's watching. And I'm telling you, He's sick of the perpetrators receiving comfort while the victims do not. And that's a whole nother thing, but it's why I do so much of what I do, because you deserve comfort. I remember there was this pastor when I was talking and telling my story. He got up and walked right past me in front of me and gave my father a hug, Lisa. My father. And I was just talking about, and my brother, all of us were talking about these things that he did. And the pastor said, "Oh, Stan, you need to know that you're loved right now." And I just really, and then he looked at us and he said, "I just don't," because my father was religious. And he said, "I just don't think it was your dad." And I said, "Then the guy then looked like our father, lived in our house and drove our cars because that's where all this abuse happened." It's outrageous, Lisa, that the children are not believed. And Jesus didn't talk about a lot of things, but one of the things he said, "Don't hurt one of my little ones." And I hang on to that because I believe in eternal justice. I do. And so don't hurt one of these little ones, but boy, is our society missing it.
Uh, I just think do you want my opinion? You're going to get it
Yes,
anyway.
I
I
do.
think
I love
This
you. Of course I do.
entire pedophile ring. I'm not saying every like detective or it's just so infiltrated that uh, I don't think we're ever going to get what we should get,
Mhm.
just the justice that we deserve. Because what happened is more than a crime. Like it's the crime against humanity, basically, when you
Yes.
do that, do stuff to children, because we grow. My brain's going faster than I can. So when you do this to children, like when I was in hospital, I can tell you there was probably at least, I don't know. I swear I have like it written on my head. Come tell me all your life story. 90% of the people that would come and talk to me, male and female, had all been sexually abused,
Mhm.
and they're in a court.
Well, that's probably why, because they're in there with their fractured mind trying to hold all these pieces together that they haven't got to get to disclose, because your mind only has so much capacity to retain stuff,
And then
right?
and then they go on to, might do jail time for stuff because they're acting out because
Right.
no one is listening to them. No one
That's
is
right.
protecting. Um, like even just because your family's not protecting you, well, the police force are meant to protect you. Isn't that what their
Mhm.
job is?
Isn't it?
Um,
Isn't it?
yeah, right. Especially children. The family
Right.
courts aren't protecting. They're taking kids away from mothers who report child abuse. That's a whole nother
Right.
thing.
That is a whole
Um,
nother thing.
you go to the church. I was involved, deeply involved in church. Oh, Lisa, you can share this part of your story, but don't share the other part because that's a
Wow.
bit too much.
Right.
I sanitize my story. I wish I could tell you everything right now,
Mhm. I
but
get it.
it will come out, all of it. But, and I'm not like unfortunately, I'm not the only one.
Right.
However, like for people who are representing God and telling you it's okay, you can just share this part, or exactly, or Lisa, you must forget,
Mhm.
you know what? Fuck that shit. He
Yeah.
has never come and said, I am sorry for what I did to
Right.
you.
Right.
Um, I one of my favorite scenes in my brain, because I had to like I always had my own faith, and I won't go into that, but that was what kept me alive, I think, because we didn't grow up in a church
Yeah,
home
I
at
didn't
all.
either. Yeah, I didn't either.
But the one where he flips the tables and he he whips Jesus isn't like I and I don't like to talk a lot about that because it can trigger a lot of survivors because they were
Right.
especially sexual abuse survivors. But it not for me. But he's not the like meek, mild little Jesus
Mhm.
guy over. He's fucking angry, guys.
Yep,
Trust
he
me.
is. I agree. I agree. You know what? He was the first freedom fighter. I love him. He's a warrior. He's a badass. I mean, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I love that, Lisa. He isn't this meek, like a cherub, this fat cherub with wings. Man. He came down here, he kicked ass, and he went back to his kingdom. And you know what? He actually said, I have all authority here too. So heaven and earth, he has all authority. And Lisa, I love that. And it's true. And you know what I think is changing is I'm reading this really cool book right now called The Kingdom of God. And one of the questions in that book was, what would you say? It says, how has the world gotten better in your lifetime? Because the whole point of the book is to not look at ourselves as victims, but these warriors with a ton of power. And when I thought about that, I thought honestly and earnestly, and you know what I thought? I have a platform that I can tell my story to. My grandmother was raped more times than she could even count. My own father raped her. and she never told her story. My uncle had horrible things done to him. They never told their story. So, do you know what I've seen in my lifetime? However, the next question said, what will you do to reform it? And you know what, Lisa? We're doing that right now. We got great big angel wings on and we are reforming it. And I'm saying to these churches that will not allow survivors to speak and that will not hold abusers accountable for what they've done, God is not happy. I agree with Lisa 1,000%. He is not happy. And I believe he's going to start removing leaders. And I've heard other people start saying this stuff. I believe that leaders are going to be removed. If you do not listen to the heart of God, Jesus said, I came for one reason, to heal the brokenhearted. When you stop that, you know what? God's going to hold you accountable and get you out of the way and bring people in who can talk. So anyway, I got to get off mine too, but I love you, Lisa. That's 100% accurate.
That's my like he John is it John I can't remember all my scriptures. It's 10:10. Is it John 10:10? He came
Yeah,
to give life abundantly. And what
right.
did Satan come to do? Kill, steal, and destroy. So it's that simple. When people say to me, oh, why do you believe in God or whatever? Like you can I would never like shove anything down anyone's throat, but that's the crux of it.
Right.
Because he gave make us into robots. He gave us a free will. So these predators to, who choose to predate on us, and like you said, it's generational, like the same all down
Yes.
my line. It's women who, like my nana, like they were
Yep.
all raped by either their
Yeah.
stepdads or their own fathers. Like it's stops here. Like it stopped. You just
Yes.
got to go nuts done, and it's huge. It's like an avalanche is like on your shoulders because you're like, this has been going on for how many generations? And
Exactly.
guys, and you and I don't realize like how much stuff that it's not like we're carrying it. It's that we're the ones that are going, no, this is we're done. We're
Yep.
speaking out. We're not going to be silent.
Yep.
But we does come
Exactly.
a lot of, as you know.
It does. And though, the thing is that I want to say something about that. There is a cost to it, but I'll tell you, Lisa, it's a cost for doing what's right. And how cool
Oh,
is that? So go ahead and bring the cost, right? You know what I mean? And I used to think when I left my family, I wasn't going to have family or love. Do you know that I found more love and more family when leaving those guys than I ever found there? So that's a lie too. It's a lie that if I leave, I'm not going to have family or love. I found family and love when I left. And that's the honest truth. So we're getting at time, but I always like to give the last minutes to, I just love this. You get me all fired up because I just feel like we're such kindred spirits. And I just love who you are and I love the work you do. Keep doing it. I want to just give time back to you before we go for anything that, and I'd love to actually have, this just makes me think I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. And we talked about maybe doing a panel. And if you could get a group of people that you want to do a panel with, reach out to me and tell me. I would love this. I don't know. I just feel like we're not done with this conversation, but I like to end them at an hour because that's what I do. So I just don't feel like we're done. But I want to just give you this, and we'll be in touch. But I'm going to give you back the last few minutes to say anything that you'd like to leave with the listener tonight.
oh, God, I don't want to. You make me feel emotional. Usually, I'm like, oh, I can't afford the emotion. I just number one, like I absolutely love you, Jody. Like that's it just sucks that we are so far away from each other.
That's all
But
right. We're together close in spirit.
I know I really appreciate you being the badass that you are and having this platform and having people of all, whether you have no faith, whatever, it doesn't matter, that you just come and share your truth and your account. And I just hope that other people who are listening when we, this is out, feel like well, you don't have to do what we're doing, but you can talk to somebody. And if you, for me, I always say my DMs are always opened and you don't necessarily have to like get on and start ranting and telling your whole life story, but I just want other people to know that they have a safe place to fall. And I always wanted to be that. And that was my as soon as I started to recall stuff and I had no one like you, um, then all of a sudden, like I started this, I've got this new family of like not just survivors, but all
Mhm.
different people who love me for me
Mhm.
and believe me. And I
Exactly.
want that for other survivors and people who are and victims because like you said we go through it's a process till we get to the other side and no one's less and no one's better and
Mhm.
you know trauma is trauma but yeah I'm kind of rambling but I just
No.
want everyone to know that they're safe if they feel like that they want to reach out they're definitely safe to be able to talk to you or to me um, yeah
I love
thank
that.
you for
Thank you
having
so much. Oh, 100%. And I know I really do. Let's think about that panel because we talked about that before we started recording, before we went live. So I really want to do
me.
that. It's just beautiful. I think that you have some really important things to do. God's going to use your story hugely. And that is the wing, the strength beneath us, right? The thing that makes us fly is reaching out and giving that. So just for anybody listening, please share this with anybody that you know that may need this. Let them know they're not alone. Give us a follow, and we're going to see you next time. Lisa, love you. I just want to pray a protection all around you. Father, just send extra angels to protect her and give her peace and just release her into more freedom. So, you know what? I'm going to see you guys next time. Love you. Lisa, we'll be in touch. Good night.